The rise of modern power. China's meteoric economic rise has reshaped the world as we know it. Yet, in the West, perceptions of China often feel stuck in the past, oversimplified and out of touch with the country's real revolution. Enter the new China's Playbook by Keyu, a 2023 deep dive into China's unique economic, social and political dynamics. Jin, a Chinese-born economist educated in US, challenges the conventional Western narratives about China. She takes us on a journey through the nation's extraordinary transition from poverty to prosperity, revealing how its hybrid economic model and cultural heritage has powered its rise. A bridge between two worlds. Picture this, it's 1997, a young Keyu Jin arrives in US, an exchange student only to find herself baffled by how Americans viewed her homeland. While China was already modernizing at breakneck speed, many Americans saw still it as a frozen in time. Fast forward to today, China stands tall as world's second largest economy, yet skepticism remains. Is its economic model sustainable? Must it follow the Western norms? Let's find out. China's astonishing transformation from rationed living to global economic powerhouse. Imagine a nation where life expectancy rises by a decade and infant mortality plummets by over 80%, all within a generation. That's the story of China between 1978 and 2016. During this period, more than 800 million people were lifted out of poverty, and the economy grew at an average of 10% annually, doubling every 12 years. This wasn't just economic rise, it was a transformation of daily life, from rationed food and cramped apartments into early 1980s to Western fast food and leisure in 1990s. What fueled this extraordinary shift? Keyu Jin's The New China Playbook explores this question in depth, showing how China's unique mix of cultural values and historical legacy and pragmatic reforms unlocked its potential. China's rise wasn't an overnight success. It was carefully orchestrated journey. Starting in 1978, when Deng Xiaoping took the reins after years of political turmoil, the reforms come in four waves. First one is agriculture revitalized. The collective farming model was replaced with a system that will let families profit from their own labor, increasing productivity and slashing poverty. Second one, opening to the world. Special economic zones like Shenzhen became hubs for foreign investment, technology, and innovation. Number 3, reshaping state-owned enterprise. Competition was introduced to once bloated and inefficient state firms. Number 4, global integration. Joining the World Trade Organization in 2001 allowed China to dominate global trade, setting the stage for its current role as the world's factory. But China's growth wasn't just about pouring money into infrastructure or industries. It was driven by total factor productivity, a measure of how efficiently labor and capital were used. Moving workers from farming to factories and reallocating resources to more productive sectors accounted for much of the growth. Still, China's trade-driven approach has its challenges. Misallocation of resources, where the best talent does not always land in the most impactful roles, is a recurring issue. Political connections can sometimes overweigh merit, causing inefficiencies that slow progress. The one-child generation shaping the future of China. Enter the one-child policy era, a demographic experiment that shaped modern China in surprising ways. For starters, it created a generation of ambitious, educated, and confident individuals with strong taste in spending. Singles Day, China's anti-Valentine's shopping festival, raked in a staggering $140 billion in sales in 2021, highlighting this shift towards consumption. But the policy also comes with a far-reaching social consequences, families saving heavily to secure their children's future. Contributed to China's sky-high savings rate. which dwarfs that of the US. The policy also exacerbated gender imbalances, as cultural preferences for son led to millions of missing girls. Yet, this pressure inadvertently boosted women's educational opportunities as the families increasingly invested in their daughters, from savers to spenders. Today, the one child generation is poised to rewrite a Chinese economic script. Unlike their frugal parents, they are more willing to spend and borrow, signaling a potential shift from savings nation to a spending one. This one could inject vitality into not just China's economy, but also the global marketplace. However, challenges remain. Rising property prices, income inequality, and aging population are hurdles China must overcome. Automation and innovation could help offset labor shortages, while the younger generation embrace the consumption might rebalances China's economy in long term. And the China is it story is far from over. From its early struggles with rationing to its dominance in global trade, its transformation has been nothing short of historic. But as it transitions to be more sustainable, innovation driven model, the world is watching closely. Will China's unique blend of cultural values, state planning, and entrepreneurial spirit continue to propel it forward, or will its challenges catch up with it? The story of resilience, reinnovation, and fascinating interplay between tradition and modernity, a story still being written. There is a tale of two forms, state-owned and private, in China. Chinese economy is powered by two distinct engines, state-owned enterprises (SOEs) and private firms. SOEs have historically have upper hand, enjoying easy access to loans, government contracts, and resources. Private firms, on the other hand, has baffled with high entry barriers, red tape, and lack of institutional support. Despite this, they have risen to account for the major share of China's GDP, tax revenue, and urban jobs. How did this happen? The shift began in the mid 1990s when Premier Zhu Rongji introduced sweeping reforms to overhaul inefficient SOEs. Many were closed, privatized, or restructured, making room for private enterprises to flourish. But SOEs did not vanish. They adapted, focusing on large national projects, while private firms took on role of driving innovation and consumer-oriented growth. Today, the relationship between the state and private sector is complex, sometimes collaborative, sometimes competitive, but always dynamic. Interestingly, local governments played a pivotal role in the rise of private firms. Motivated by economic growth and political incentives, they started supporting private businesses with licenses, loans, and other resources. However, this relationship wasn't always smooth. Regional protectionism, where local governments prioritized their own businesses, stifled competition and innovation in some cases. One game changing moment came with China's 2013 anti corruption crackdown. Suddenly, private firms could not rely on political favors or easy financing. They were forced to innovate, form partnerships, and find new ways to survive. Take NIO, the electrical car company, as an example. On the brink of bankruptcy in 2020, NIO was rescued by local government of Hefei, which invested 7 billion renminbi for 25% of stake. This partnership secured loans, organized its supply chain, and helped NIO valuation skyrocket from just $3 billion to $100 billion in just 8 months. This is a perfect example of how state and private collaboration can transform industries. Today, local governments and SOEs are venture capitalists investing in risky private ventures, particularly in tech and heavy industries. This model benefits both sides, private firms and gain resources and connections, while government gains equity and political wits. The system works best when the state remains a minority shareholder, allowing entrepreneurs to maintain decision-making power. Still, this collaboration comes with a risks. Political interference can hinder innovation, and reliance on state backing may introduce market volatility. For foreign companies, doing business in China is like walking a tightrope. The opportunities are immense, but so are the challenges. Local firms are increasingly agile, innovative, and competitive, often outspacing foreign rivals with their deep understanding of the market. Success in China requires more than just good products. It demands speed, adaptability, and cultural awareness. Chinese entrepreneurs are setting new standards for quality and ethics, moving away from the corruption and embracing cutting-edge technologies. China's rapid industrialization owes much to the rise of private firms, but this success isn't without its complexities. From battling bureaucracy to forging unlikely partnerships with the state private businesses has proven their resilience and creativity. The question is, can this unique model where socialism and capitalism intertwine continue to thrive in rapidly challenging global landscape? One thing is for sure, the rise of China's private firms is a testament to the power of adaptability, innovation, and the enduring human drive to drive and build something bigger. The small towns in China are transforming into booming tech hubs, with hundreds of industrial parks and high-tech zones spread across China. These areas specializes in cutting-edge fields like electronics, biomedicine, and clean energy. In Shanghai alone, districts compete to in trade logistics, high-tech development, and even cultural tourism projects. This is the essence of China's mayor economy, where officials drive growth in an entrepreneurial spirit. Local leaders in the system act as CEOs of their regions, striving to attract investment, host cultural events, and build futuristic landmarks. They are not just administrators, they are visionaries turning villages into vibrant cities. Foreign investors are often stunned by their energy as they thought jaw dropping statistics about industry growth and innovation. But here is a twist. Despite China's reputation for centralized authority, local governments have significant economic autonomy. This decentralization offsets the rigidity of central system, allowing local leaders to foster businesses and overcome bureaucratic hurdles. Approach isn't new. Back in 1980s, when private enterprises still carried the stigma of capitalism, local governments began offering tax breaks and flexible regulations to attract top firms. By blending state direction with local ingenuity, China created what called as an entrepreneurial state within a centralized one. But the darker side is the competitive environment encouraged corruption as officials exploited development projects for personal gain. This led to President Xi Jinping sweeping anti-corruption campaign which punished millions of officials and aimed to restore integrity. China's shift towards quality growth is also transforming the major economy. No longer is a GDP growth the sole measure of success. The focus now is on education, healthcare, environmental protection, essential for increasingly vocal middle class. A decade ago, public spitting and littering were common. Today, cities like Beijing, Shanghai are clean, with strict trash sorting rules. While China lacks Western style democracy, it holds local officials accountable through responsiveness. Social media, though censored, amplifies public opinion, and government actions like reducing poverty and protecting the environment reflect the people needs. China's financial system, the double edged sword. Now, dive into the financial system. A lifeline for any economy, but a complicated puzzle in China. In theory, it's simple. Consumers save money, which banks and financial institutions lead to businesses for growth. Yet in China, this system operates under tight state rule, creating unique strengths and vulnerabilities. Unlike advanced economies that rely heavily on capital markets, China leans on its banking sector. Historically, the project served state owned enterprises or SOEs, funneling money into their project. The stock market was even introduced to support SOEs, but its performance has been underwhelming. Despite China's rapid GDP growth, stock market returns have been lackluster, leaving investors scratching their heads. One reason is that China's strict listing policies. Companies need approval from China's Securities Regulatory Commission, a lengthy procedure favoring firms with government connections over innovative startups. As a result, global giants like Alibaba, Tencent choose to list abroad rather than navigating China's domestic markets. Here is another quirk. China's stock market focuses on past profitability, unlike US's, which values future potential. This backward looking approach leaving promises startups sidelined. The system also suffers from inefficiencies. Housing prices are sky high. Shadow banking practices add risk and also market is prone to volatility. Government interventions often meant to stabilize the market sometimes do opposite, creating more uncertainty for investors. Surprisingly, despite these challenges, China has avoided a full blown financial crisis. So it can be controlled markets and government oversight but provide a buffer. But this centralized control also stifles flexibility and innovations. So what lies behind? China's mere economy shows the power of local leadership in driving growth, while its financial system reveals the challenges of balancing state control with market dynamism. Together, this element showcases the complexities of China's rise as an economic powerhouse. The question is, can China continue to innovate and grow while navigating the pitfalls of its financial system and evolving demands of its middle class? The answer will shape not just China's future but global economy as well. The housing boom, from state owned apartments to real estate powerhouses. 20 years ago, China did not even have housing market. Back then, homes were allocated by government employers, civil servants, and state-owned enterprises (SOEs). Employees lived in a housing provided by state. Everything changed in 1997 when China privatized housing to jumpstart economic growth. What followed was nothing short of astonishing. The world's largest housing market emerged in just 2 decades. Today, real estate is central to China's economy. Housing is where most Chinese families store their wealth, where corporations secure financing, and where local governments earn revenue. But the story doesn't end here. China's unique system plays a big role. All land is technically state owned, leased to developers and house owners for specific durations 70 years for residential, 40 years for commercial, and 30 years for industrial use. So, here is where it gets interesting. In 1994, the government stripped local governments of their control over tax revenue. To fund projects, local leaders turned land leasing. This sparked a real estate boom. Developers and governments benefited from the rising land prices, but this also pushed housing prices to staggering levels. In major cities like Beijing and Shanghai, prices have skyrocketed, creating a high price to income ratio. But here is the twist, these prices reflect future expectations rather than immediate bubble. Owning a home is still a key milestone for many families, yet challenges loom. The government tightened the market in 2020, leading to financial stress for developers. Despite this, housing prices haven't collapsed. Ghost towns, empty developments built in anticipation and demand often evolve into thriving areas over time. However, with aging population and declining marriages, the demand for housing could drop, raising questions about market's long-term sustainability. Now, let's go into the another chapter. Shadow banking, China's financial wildcard. Now let's talk about shadow banking, a hidden high-risk sector that plays critical role in China's financial system. Shadow banking refers to lending and financial activities happening outside of formal banking regulation. It is emerged as a creative workaround for strict government rules exploding in size after 2009. Why the surge? Local governments and banks needed a ways to fund projects and offer high returns to investors. Enter wealth management products or WMPs. These high return financial products become wildly popular, going from 2.6% of GDP in 2008 to 40% by 2016. Unlike traditional bank deposit, WMPs weren't subject to capped interest rates, making them attractive to households hungry for better returns. Local governments also got creative. The 1994 budget law barred them from running deficits, though, so they turned local government financing vehicles LGFVs. These vehicles issued bonds, often guaranteed by local governments, which shadow banking funds eagerly snapped in. By 2014, these so called Chen Tao bonds total nearly 5 trillion renminbi, Unlike the US, where shadow banking often involves complex securitization, China's version is relatively straightforward. Banks and trusts offer high yield products with fewer intermediaries, but bad lending remains a core issue. Shadow banking filled with and medium enterprises while offering households better returns. It also boosted China's corporate bond market, now the third largest in the world. So, what are the risks and resilience in this both the markets? With sudden and such rapid growth, you expect chaos, and China has faced its share of financial worries, non-performing loans in 1990s, a property bubble in 2000s, and rising shadow banking debt in the last decade. Yet, despite the repeated prediction of collapse, China's financial system has stayed afloat. How? One word: control. The state dominates China's financial system, allowing it to contain risks that would derail other economies. Banks and debt are tightly managed, and local governments have enough assets to offset liabilities. High saving rates also mean China does not depend on foreign capital, avoiding vulnerabilities like sudden capital flight. Still, it's not all smooth sailing. The system is inefficient, with housing costs and risky lending practices and low return investments, but China has shown an uncanny ability and to maintain stability even in the face of these challenges. So what lies behind in the shadow banking and housing market sectors are too big to fail and too risky to ignore. As China's population ages and market demand shift, the real estate sector need to adapt. Shadow banking, while still filling the critical gaps, requires tighter regulations to avoid systematic crisis. China's ability to grow balance growth, control, and innovation will determine its path forward. One thing is for sure: the stakes are high not just for China but for global economy. So now coming to China's tech revolution. From catching up to cutting technology. Technology has always been humans' greatest equalizer. Now, nowhere is more evident in China. In just few decades, the country has gone from being a tech follower to a serious contender in the fields like artificial intelligence, 5G, and renewable energy. But the road to innovation isn't just without bumps. Critics argue China's education system, focused on test taking and note memorization, stifles creativity and intellectual property laws discourage original breakthroughs. Yet, China has found its own innovation rhythm, excelling in applied technology and business models. Think of affordable smartphones and revolutionary AI applications and ride sharing platforms to adapt to local needs. Take Didi Shopping as an example. It did not just survive competition from Uber, it thrived by understanding the nuances of Chinese culture and infrastructure, eventually buying out Uber's China's operation. The stream strategy worked globally. In Brazil, Didi introduced daily driver payouts to meet local economic realities. In Mexico, it created a digital wallet during the pandemic to ensure smoother transactions. The lesson: adaptation and data are China's secret weapons. China's massive population offers tech companies a unique advantage, a notion of data to refine their products and services. Data is the lifeblood of digital economy, fueling everything from personalized recommendations to medical breakthroughs. While Western nations grapple with privacy concerns, many in China prioritize safety and convenience over personal data privacy. However, this mindset is shifting, leading to stricter data protection laws. China's backwardness in some areas has fueled innovation with fewer legacy systems to maintain. The country's leapfrogged fall into cutting edge solution. Digital payments like Alipay and WeChat Pay leave cash and credit cards in dust. And while the regulators scramble to keep the pace with fintech innovations, this environment has unlocked new opportunities for underserved populations. Still, China's tech landscape has its own challenges. The push for rapid results sometimes sacrifices long term innovation, and basic research remains underdeveloped. Yet, with the state backed initiatives like $1.4 trillion tech infrastructure plan and heavy investments in semiconductors, China is laying the groundwork for sustained growth. Now, let's shift the gears to China's role in global trade. In 1980, a pair of pink snowboards from Korea was a luxury in China, sparking envy and awe. Fast forward to few decades, and China is the one delivering quality goods to the world. This transformation started in 1978 with Deng Xiaoping's economic reforms and accelerated with China's 2001 entry into WTO. China had become the world's largest exporter, a manufacturing powerhouse, churning out everything from electronics to textiles. But this interdependence has created ripple effects worldwide. Take US China trade war for instance. Tariffs drove up costs for American consumers while straining diplomatic ties. Yet Chinese imports have been also benefited the US, providing affordable goods and spurring innovation. The narrative that globalization has devastated Western economies is more complex than it seems. Studies show that while Chinese imports have been displaced some jobs, they also created opportunities. US exports to China support over a million American jobs, and Chinese companies employ nearly 2 lakh Americans. This issue isn't trade itself, it's how benefits are distributed. In Europe, stronger worker retraining programs have softened the impact of Chinese competition, a lesson the US could learn from. Globalization isn't fading. Despite rising protectionism and geopolitical tensions, in fact, new forms of trade are emerging. Like digital commerce, e commerce, Chinese companies are leveraging tech to expand globally. Manufacturers are moving up the value chain, adapting AI and robotics to improve efficiency and reduce costs. China's trade strategy is also evolving. The dual circulation plan focuses on balancing exports with domestic consumption. At the same time, China is opening its financial markets to foreign investors and participating in global initiatives like Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership, the world's largest trade bloc. A glimpse into the future. Could China anchor the global economy? 200 years from now, historians might look back and compare China's dominance to Britain in the 19th century or US in 20th. These nations were the largest economies of their time, driving global trade and investments. Now China is following a similar path. China has already emerged as a major global lender, financing infrastructure projects across Africa and invested heavily in renewable energy worldwide. It holds a staggering amount of US treasuries, making its economies deeply intertwined with America's. But while the US dominance is showing cracks, China isn't quite ready to take the reins. One key hurdle is trust. Global financing leadership requires transparency and stability, and China's financial system is still maturing. While its cautious capital controls have helped maintain stability, they also limited the integration needed to make renminbi a true rival to US dollar. Even so, the renminbi is making inroads. Countries like Argentina and Egypt now receive financial aid in renminbi, and alternative payment systems are helping countries bypass the dollar to avoid US sanctions. Digital currencies like Chinese e-renminbi add another layer of intrigue. These could revolutionize international transactions, but global trust in a currency still depends on confidence on its government and financial system. And history offers clues about what it takes to become global financial leader. When Britain's economy power waned in early 20th century, it no longer stabilized the global financial system. The US stepped in, cementing the dollar's dominance after World War II. But even the dollar's rise wasn't without flaws. Economist Robert Triffin pointed out fundamental issues. The US could not back all the dollars in circulation with gold, leading to the end of dollar convertibility in 1971. Now US faces similar challenge, meeting the world's demand for dollars while managing its own economy pressures. In this vacuum, China sees opportunity. During 2008 financial crisis, the Federal Reserve emergency liquidates measure fell short. Whilst China stepped in with renminbi based agreements, though still limited in scope, the renminbi is quietly positioning itself for a larger role on global stage. The Belt and Road Initiative. Is it connectivity or controversy? One of the China's boldest plays for global leadership is Belt and Road Initiative BRI. This initiative infrastructure project aims to connect Asia, Europe and beyond. through a network of railroads, seaports, and airports. Critics have raised their concerns about debt traps, accusing China of burdening smaller nations with unsustainable loans. But studies suggest most of these loans aligns with global norms. The BRI isn't just about economics. It's positioning China as leader in the global connectivity and cooperation. And China's journey over the past 40 years is nothing short of extraordinary. Deng Xiaoping's reforms lifted millions out of poverty and created opportunities unimaginable a generation ago. Families that once depend on manual labor now send their children to prestigious universities, and many of those who studied abroad are returning to seize opportunities in a booming economy. This rapid transformation is a testament to unique political and economic system. The state's ability to mobilize resources and implement reforms quickly has driven infrastructure development and crisis management. However, it's not without a risk. The paternalistic approach can stifle individual freedom, and the state's vast control create inefficiencies. As China grows wealthier, its challenges evolve. Income inequality is a pressing issue. Fueled by same market reforms that lifted millions out of poverty, President Xi Jinping's push for common prosperity aims to address these disparities, focusing on fair opportunities, affordable housing, and healthcare. China's approach to capitalism differs from the West. It intertwines to curb monopolistic practices and rein in tech gains while encouraging innovation and efficiency. This balancing act between socialism and capitalism could serve as a model for addressing some of the flaws in Western economic system. The road ahead. Cooperation over conflict. China's ultimate vision is not just to become the largest economy, but also shape global norms and foster shared prosperity. However, its path is far from straightforward. Cooperation with US is essentially, especially in tackling shared challenges like climate change. As the world watches the high stake game, a peaceful coexistence between the US and China could unlock immense opportunities for global stability and progress. Conflict, on the other hand, would be disastrous for all involved. China's people are also evolving, demand greater accountabilities and rights from their leaders. The nation's future will depend on how it adapts to these internal and external pressures. China's rise is also reshaping the world in real time. From its growing financial influence to its ambitious infrastructure projects, whether it becomes the next global financial anchor depends more on than economic might. It requires trust, cooperation, and a continued focus on state prosperity. The journey is far from over. As we move forward, understanding China's unique approach will be crucial for navigating this new era of global leadership. Stay tuned because the story of China is just beginning. And this is a book summary of the new China playbook Beyond Socialism and Capitalism by Keyu Chan. And if you like this summary, please subscribe to our channel and give your suggestions and recommendations so that we can improve in the future videos. Thank you very much for watching this video till there.